Hi, I'm Tim Scales, the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Economic Education here at Indiana University East.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to another episode of In Your Business.
We talk to local entrepreneurs, we learn about their business, we learn about why they started their business, how they started their business, some of the opportunities their businesses has provided them and their community, as well as some of the hurdles they've gone through, some of the challenges. Welcome to another episode of In Your Business. Today we're going to do things just a little bit different. Normally I interview an entrepreneur and we talk about a small business. We talk about what it is that they want to do and how they want to do it. Today we're going to talk about banks. So we've invited bankers to this show. And we're going to let them talk about how they work with small business. It's kind of interesting because it's a partnership. It's a small business. It's always going to need things like capital. They're going to need information about what their industries do. And the bank is a wealth of information when it comes to small business. So today, again, we're going to turn the cards a little bit. We're going to talk to the banks. We're going to understand how the banks work with small business. So joining me today is two banks this afternoon, and I'm going to let them go around and introduce themselves. So Dave, if you would go ahead.
Yes, my name is Dave Bartrum, and I'm business banker with Main Source. And I have been banking for 31 years, early in my career with Mr. Scales.
Well, welcome to the show.
I'm Sharon Thomas. I also am with Main Source Bank. I'm the client service manager, and I do have 32 years of banking experience. My primary responsibilities is managing the branch, but also working with clients, partnering with them, and helping them with all their financial solutions.
Great. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Paul?
Paul Witte, Senior Vice President, First Bank Richmond, in charge of the commercial loan and commercial leasing department. I've been in banking for 20 years, and this coming Wednesday, 25th of November, will mark my 19th anniversary at the bank.
Wow. It seems like years have gotten ahead of us because I think combined between the four of us, we have over 100 years of banking experience. Now, the interesting part is those 100 years are not continuous, so we've only had the 30 years together. So it makes an interesting conversation, though. And we'll talk about that as the show goes and some of the changes that we've seen happen in the banking industry. But I think the most important thing today is how we work with small businesses. And, you know, the economy comes and goes, it changes, we have to make adjustments. And what we look for from small business, I'm sure, changes as well. And each of you are on the show today because you work with small business. And we want to, basically help small business and understand what it is you can do for them and what they need to do for you if they're going to work with you. It's a partnership, it's a relationship, and we've got to find out how we're going to build that. So before we actually get into the small businesses, let's talk about your bank, though. And Sharon, if you want to start off, tell us a little bit about the number of locations and maybe where the main office is and how your bank does business.
Sure. Main Source Bank is actually a little over 110 years old. It was established in 1904 out of Greensburg, Indiana. That is where we're headquartered today. Through the years, we have grown to about 85 locations throughout Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky. We pride ourselves on being a regional bank, but we like to make local decision making.
Okay, great. That's several locations. So I mean, it's a lot of territory to cover.
Yes, and also our asset size is about $3.25 billion, and with that, we also we're on the NASDAQ, and you will find us under MSFG.
I didn't realize that. So that's some good information for me to be learning today as well. So we're all going to learn together. So, Paul, do you want to share a little bit about your bank?
Certainly. First Bank Richmond was originally a savings and loans, started in 1887. Switched to a state-chartered bank in 1993, and then we switched to a national bank in 1998. Actually, the first mutual national bank in the country, and I'm not sure if we are still the only mutual national bank in the country. But we have 8 locations. We have 7 in Wayne County, 1 in Shelbyville. The locations in Wayne County, we have a branch in Cambridge City, 1 in Centerville, the west side of Richmond, north side of Richmond, close to Meyer. We have our motor branch, which is close to downtown, actually in downtown, east side of Richmond, and our main office location in downtown Richmond.
So you've kind of got the city covered pretty well.
We have the city and the county covered very well. We're a community bank, so a little bit different than regional bank. Not as large, a little above 500 million.
Okay.
So
great. great. Well, we'll get to know more about the bank and what you're doing there as we go.
Great.
So basically, what we're going to want to do is we're going to talk about what it is that your bank mission and vision is. You know, what does your bank want to do and who do they want to serve?
Okay. Well, MainSource's mission is really to be a great bank. And we believe in doing that. It's important to establish relationships with our clients and understand their business and help them thrive. And we know that if we're successful in doing that and partnering with them, not only are they're going to thrive, but the bank will as well. We have 5 key elements that we focus on under our mission, and the first one is hiring highly qualified and engaged employees. Also having engaged customers. We like to have local leadership and want to promote community involvement. We want to be excellent in risk management, and also we want to be financially strong. And we believe that we have all those key elements. Our core values to help us in our mission is our integrity and our teamwork, and also just the excellence that we want to bring day in and day out.
Great. Well, I think by sharing that with small business, you can make them successful as well. And hopefully they can adopt some of those as well. So great. Paul.
Yeah, our mission is to provide exceptional service to our customers and to give them the products they need to succeed. We have a wide variety of financial products in order for them to succeed. And again, you know, as Sharon mentioned about the community involvement, that's one of the big drivers of First Bank Richmond being a community bank, is we give thousands of hours of community service, you know, all the way from officers down to regular employees, and, you know, donate quite a bit of financial assistance to not-for-profits in the area. So that's our mission, to help customers, good service, and support the community in which we live.
Great. Well, that's the important part. Is that I feel we have not a lot of banks. We have a few banks in our community for the size we are, and I feel like all of them work very well together. And you know, I think you guys all know each other, and I think you know most of the businesses in our area, and I think that's what makes it special. Is, you know, we do all work together, and that's important to survive. Overall, kind of give me an overview of what it is that your bank can offer a small business.
I think as much as anything, my job as a business banker and MainSource's primary interest, we're a conduit. We're here to connect other resources, which may be within the community. It may be CPA firms. It may be legal advice, as well as the financial advice, which we bring to the table. As far as what banks typically are trying to do with businesses and small business, it's not just the lending. We certainly love to do that, and that's how we make our money. But we're also bringing to the table the technology that a business needs. From my earlier banking career to where we are today, we've seen major advances with technology, but the fact is we can put depository services at our client's desktop today. I'm one of the conduits that finds out what that client needs and brings solutions to that client at their desktop. But we still do banking the old-fashioned way as well, and you will find I'm out of the office a lot. I am visiting my clients one-on-one, whether it's in a field with a farmer or whether it's actually at the desk of the business and the client, the owner of the business, or even in their factory. But we still make out calls, and we're pretty much the resource, the relationship between the bank, other resources, and that client.
Great, great. Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, we work as financial advisors as well as bankers. Try to get to understand the small business, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goals are, and fit them with the right products that they need. You know, the technology, as Dave mentioned, is amazing these days. Remote deposit capture, if they have the need for that. You know, working capital, lines of credit. Just trying to listen to their needs, understand what they want, what their goals are, and offer advice where they may have holes in their business, whether if they may make the best widget out there, but may not know how to account for it or how to sell it. And we offer advice and just try to partner them up with their needs to help them succeed.
Great. Well, here at the university, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of students that have aspirations to have a small business, or actually they probably think it's going to be a large business, but it's going to have to start small. I also have a lot of people from the community in the region who comes into the office, and they're looking for assistance. They're wanting to start a business. All too often they have an idea, and then we sit down with a business plan and start working it, and they kind of like me to do the business plan maybe and just make their business a success. It's not the way it works. Starting a business is hard. It's very difficult. You've got to have a solid plan. You've got to be able to prove that it's going to make it. And with their buying a business, I know we have the evidence of the success or maybe lack thereof. But when it comes to a startup, a new startup business, how do you work with a new startup?
Well, first and foremost, startups are most risky to the banks. You typically are still seeing probably 4 out of every 5 that would fail within the first 5 years. With that being said, I would suggest that we, being the bankers, help connect, as Paul mentioned earlier, to the resources that business owner is going to need. First and foremost, they're going to have access to a CPA. They're going to have access to an attorney. They're going to have to go through the legal processes, and they're going to have some financial background where the CPA would stand in, or the banker, to begin making that plan, the actual financial decisions. Local resources, SBDC or Economic Development, Chamber of Commerce, excellent resources along with Ivy Tech, IU East, to be able to put those pieces together. As someone walking into my office, lots of times I am the first line that they are speaking with about setting up their business. And these are the resources that I would begin talking to that prospect about. Have you spoken with your attorney? Have you spoken with a CPA? Many times they know how to make a product, or they know what they're going to market, but how do we get it from point A to point B? Mm-hmm. And have something at the end of the day after we have been paid to pay all the bills.
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. So, Paul?
Do the same thing. With a new startup business, we advise them, you look at the business plan. Do they have a business plan in place? From all the professional services that they need, the IS, BDC, talking to them. If it's a new business and they're struggling when they come into the bank and they don't have a well thought out business plan, the ISBDC can work as a business advisor. These are people that have owned a business before in the past, that know what they're going through, that have been through this process. So they can help a new business out from that planning process, and come back to a bank with a well thought out plan, whether it's, financial presentation, here's my projections, here's my summary, executive summary, here's economic, forecasts, so to speak. Who are their competitors in the market? So bringing that all together is just helping them understand what a business entails. It's not just, making that widget or gadget. It's, you have to sell it mm-hmm. for a business. You have to create that revenue in order to, if they need a loan, to pay back the loan.
Sure. So if they take advantage of these resources, which I think they're great, okay? Like I said, I work with people all the time developing business plans. And if you're making a hypothetical plan, that's one thing. But when it really gets down to being real, that's when you've got to have the resources you're speaking of. And the Small Business Development Corporation, they do a great job. They've got the software. They can do some projections. They can do some market studies, some of the things that are just very, very important to the business. You guys at the bank, you have the resources as well. And I know that if I come into your bank and I say I'm going to start selling donuts on Main Street, you're going to be able to tell me what my average sales should look like. You're going to be able to tell me if I'm within line of how many employees I'm going to have. You have a lot of stuff to work with, a lot of data that can provide information. So, sometimes it's not even just about the finance. Sometimes it's just about the information. And oftentimes when I'm teaching it here at the university, I do ask the students to contact a banker and start asking the questions because you have the information. And so I think it's good. It's disappointing, I'm sure, for some businesses when they come in and they think they're going to open tomorrow. You know, they've got this great idea, they're going to have it, and they're wrong. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It may not happen next week, next month, it may not happen next year because there's a lot of planning that's got to go into it. And I think the relationship, that's where it comes down to. They've got to be able to work with you and build that solid plan. What do you suggest, though, to that person who's got a solid plan put together? Now it's time to get the capital. Can you give some suggestions of what that small business can bring to the table to give their odds better to get that loan?
Yep. Well, MainSource is a preferred lender with SBA. And many times that capital shortfall, that is where we're going to find it, or we're going to find the support to be able to get that deal into place on behalf of that customer with a little help. The banks do not want to take all of the risk. The brand new owner can take perhaps maybe only a portion of that risk. So as such, we do have the tools to go out and obtain that capital base that we need, or that risk support that we need. But the SBA offers a lot of tools out there on behalf of our customers these days. And it's not as expensive as what people think. Generally, I think clients walk into the door expecting high fees, high interest rates. In fact, we have seen SBA willing to waive fees in our recent past. I believe even VA, Veterans Administration, business owners can still get their fees waived at this point. But we can get operating lines of credit that can actually be supported by SBA now, as well as your long-term real estate deals and equipment finances. You can also obtain longer terms with some of those guarantee options that the SBA provides too, outside of just what the traditional terms can be. But that is one of the major tools that we would look upon in regards to a startup. Many people don't realize that we have a lot of additional support that has come through family members, through some private debt. I work with a lot of agricultural clients in this community and small agribusiness clients as well. We do quite a few startups that are partially supported by family members. Excellent resource when it's available.
Okay. You spoke of the SBA. Maybe for non-bankers, but what is the SBA?
Small Business Administration, and that is the government agency that banks can go to find support, risk management support. In our case, there are direct financing dollars available through certain programs as well. But it is our government basically trying to help support business in this country.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Paul, very similar? Or
Very similar, yeah. The SBA 7A program is designed for startups, and what it helps mitigate for banks, as Dave mentioned earlier, startups are high risk. So, the SBA supplements that risk, a certain point of guarantee for banks. Banks take some risk, SBA takes some risk, and obviously the customer is taking the largest risk, maybe financially and, with their business. So, the one thing I would suggest small business, to acquire a bank loan, come with good credit, have good credit, because, banks like bankable deals. Now, there's financing for customers that may not have the best credit. It may cost a little bit more, but, come with, good credit, have some equity, have some capital invested into it, because you need to have some skin in the game as a small business. If you want us to take that risk, we want you to take a little risk too. You need to have some skin in the game, so to speak. Yeah, but the SBA is an excellent source for small businesses.
Okay. Well, that kind of transitions into my next question, because as I do work with a lot of individuals who want to get into business, there's a couple things that come up. Do you guys look at their personal credit scores? Do you look at their resumes? Do you look at their experience? Do you look at what they're currently doing? Tell me what that looks like when they come to the bank.
Yep. Well, in some cases, it may actually be their management experience, existing management experience. It seems that more and more often we will find business managers that want to go out onto their own, own their own business. They may well come in with their own concepts of changing their business, can't obtain ownership in the business that they are in, so they choose to go out on their own. But Paul mentioned that first and foremost, we will be looking at personal credit scores for any of the primaries with this startup business. If you have not established a credit record at all, you're going to have difficulty finding financing. But we can also be there to help you establish that credit reference, how to actually take out loans, minimal risk to create that credit establishment. The business plan, absolutely, you're walking into my office, and that partnership, I need to know what you're thinking. I need to know how you believe that your business will be a success. We all have to partner in on that, and we have to share the same story, understand the same story as well. But it's pretty rare that we would have someone walk in that has no credit record asking to establish a business.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there are some. But regularly we find clients that have it established, but maybe there's some things that they're not aware of that are detriments in their credit. We will help coach them and teach them how to clean those things up as well.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely along those same lines. I'm not going to restate what Dave talked about, but what we require for a business loan, we do, like I mentioned before, some equity injected into the business. We're going to require the business plan. We're going to require, if there's any assets to that business, a first lien position on those assets, whether it's equipment, real estate, whatever it is. And continual monitoring of their progress, of their financial progress. How are they doing from every quarter? Especially on a newer business, monitor that business to see how they are doing. So again, that's that financial aspect for a small new business. They need to have some financial background, or find somebody that does have some financial background to show the bank, hey, I am progressing, I'm progressing nicely. Here's my information.
Okay. Dave, you've been working with small businesses for quite a long time. You said you've been in banking for 30 plus years.
Yes.
So what I want you to do is think about some of those businesses, and don't name any of them, and don't give me any information, but tell me who they are. But I want you to think about some of those small businesses you've worked with and kind of describe what it's like to be their banker.
Being able to work with somebody from the ground floor up is so unique. Many times, especially when you look back at the history of banking, local banking, I think banking was almost order taking at one point. All of that has evolved, and to actually work with somebody from the first second that they open their door to the point that they become a true success. One of my better success clients walks in, and they're looking at maybe doing $150,000 in sales a year. Today they're pushing $5 million, and that was just 6 years ago. But I've been their banker from day number one, and to see that plan evolve to way more than what they ever anticipated. Happens to be a business that anyone would recognize, a community draw as well as a non-local draw. It is just a unique thing to actually happen. It's almost like watching a child be born and watching that child grow up.
Great, thanks. Paul?
Yeah. Now, as far as the commercial loan side of things, I've been doing this for a year. My previous 18 years at the bank, I do indirect commercial leasing across the country with very small businesses. So from that aspect, I've dealt in a wide variety of industries with thousands of customers, from trucking to jewelry to restaurants to, arts and entertainment, from music venues. So we've dealt with a wide variety of economic factors in different regions. And the biggest thing that, we've always worked with those customers, if they struggle through economic downturns, it's working through those downturns and hearing people say, thank you, thanks for your help. We appreciate your help. Whereas, some, I'm not saying all banks would do this, but some just kind of pull the plug on small businesses. So, we understand there's going to be struggles. So it's working through them and communication with the customers, whether it's going out and seeing them face to face, talking on the phone, having a two-way street is very important.
Sharon, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to share with us and tell us what's it like to be somebody's banker.
It's awesome. It really is, because you take a personal interest in the success of that company, so it's almost like you are a part of that company as well. So like Dave's story, when you can start off small and then you've seen what they've grown to and you've been a part of that along the way, that's the reason why I'm still in banking after 32 years. I have just started in the small business piece of it, but it's not really much different than the consumer lending. And it's all the same thing. It's we're there to partner with the client and help them come up with the best financial solutions and be a part of their success.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here.
My pleasure.
This concludes another episode of In Your Business. Today, we've gone a different direction. We've talked to the bankers, and we found out why the bankers are involved with business and how important the bankers are to businesses. It's interesting because I've been away from banking for 10 years, but I don't think I've ever left the banks. I've gotten into the other side with the businesses. And what we find is we're all one family. Whether you're in business, whether you're in banking, or whether you're in any other type of profession in this community, we're all one. We're all in it together. We all want to succeed. We all want to do well. The students, to the business, to the banks, we're all in it together. And thank you again for watching In Your Business.